I'm Gil Ponce, and let's queer up trans rights. Vermont advances landmark protections for trans prisoners. Lawmakers in Vermont have passed a first-of-its-kind bill expanding protection for transgendered people in prison, in what advocates describe as one of the strongest state-level responses yet to Trump administration's policies affecting trans inmates. The legislation, known as H-550, recognizes that incarcerated transgendered people face higher risk of abuse, harassment, and sexual violence. The bill requires prison staff to respect inmates' gender identities and complete gender-responsive training. Under the measure, transgender prisoners can request transfers to facilities that align with their gender identity. Those requests would be reviewed with input from medical and mental health professionals with experience in gender-affirming care. In some cases, the state could transfer inmates to prisons in other states, including Colorado, which recently created dedicated housing units for trans women. The move comes as the Trump administration continues advancing policies that put transgender people in federal custody at greater risk, including efforts to limit gender-affirming care and access and weakening the Prison Rape Elimination Act protections. Vermont's legislation directs the state to continue following pre-Trump federal guidelines for transgender inmates and creates a framework for future legal protections tied to gender-affirming care in prisons. The bill passed with bipartisan support and now heads to Republican Governor Phil Scott, who's expected to sign it into law. I think that this is a great example of bipartisanship at work, where, quite frankly, I originally come from New England. I held elected office. I was actually elected as a Republican. I have since moved away from that ideology as right-wing ideologies have taken over. But this goes to show you that Rockefeller Republicanism can still be alive and well in New England, and that they're able to do this on a bipartisan basis says a lot about the Vermont legislature. It says a lot about the Republican governor who's going to be signing this into law. And it shows that we can protect everybody from all strips of life, including those who are in our prisons.
You know, socially, the two Roosevelts, two different parties, but socially they were actually very close together. Like it was until the right-wing takeover. Yeah, you could consider parties. You could vote one and then the other even. And now, yeah, that was a different day.
Well, once again, the New England state is getting it right and looking after its citizens, including those who are incarcerated. And it's just so embarrassing to think that I could never imagine something like that happening in a southern state.
No.
Notice it's Colorado and Vermont.
Yeah.
I just don't think it would ever happen in a southern state.
Well, I think New England is a wonderful place. I was just in Boston over the weekend, and I have to say it was my first time in Boston, actually, but I am a big fan of John Adams, and I absolutely love reading biographies about him, and check out the show if you haven't. It's like 15 years old. And, he said, you will always have a fair shot from a New England man. He said, and I know that we can make jokes about that, but really, I think what he was saying is that they're level-headed, they're pragmatic, they're fair, and I just think that it's level-headed, pragmatic, and fair to allow transgendered people to be able to receive, safe housing if they've committed a crime. It doesn't negate the fact that they're still human beings and that they deserve to be safe. And the fact that, what is this called? The prison rape legislation that was, that's being gutted by the administration right now. I mean, that's ominous. That's very ominous. So I think it's a good step, that, New England is getting it right. Same as Colorado. I don't see that happening in Florida anytime soon. So if you're going to commit a crime and you're transgendered,
don't do it.
Do it in Vermont or Colorado, maybe, or just don't commit a crime. But if you are going to, it's a good place to do it.
And people used to make fun of the phrase "good fences make good neighbors," which is a New England saying. But what they never seem to realize is that the point was they really wanted to be good neighbors. That so it wasn't being like standoffish. It was like let's be respectful and be good neighbors. And so this is one more sort of way of doing it. I think that also because we've allowed this. I mean, what could we do? But we've allowed this to become an issue instead of forgetting that these are people. We're not talking about an issue. We're talking about people. And by dehumanizing the people and just making it an issue, well, now we can take sides and have different opinions and argue. Meanwhile, these are lives. And so I think if we can just reclaim our own humanity by seeing it in the other, because these people are being punished for crimes. They shouldn't also be punished for their gender identity.
Right. Because that's
So they
not a
should be safe.
crime.
Exactly.
That's not a crime.
There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.